say stuff that resonates with me. Uh, the readings themselves, I mean, geez, you could take those sentence by sentence and do a whole meeting just on one sentence. But you described yourself that problem with rules. My therapist told me a decade ago I have oppositional defiance disorder. It's actually in the book, of mental diseases, oppositional defiance disorder. So whenever anybody says something, especially about a rule or a regulation, I will be the opposite in defiance. And that has been my MO throughout my 15 years in the program. When I read something from the big book, especially early on, I didn't, my mind wasn't open to the possibility that this could be true. Let's take the promises, for example. Everybody knows promises. When I first read those promises, I said, "This is bullshit. This is impossible." There was no there was no question in my mind that this was bullshit. This was a cult. They wanted my dollar in a basket. I don't know what they were doing, um, hypnotizing themselves or something. And slowly, I wrote those promises down, and slowly I noticed that they came true. And so I did open myself up a little bit to the possibility that I didn't need to be oppositionally defiant to everything. And the rules, well, they say there are no rules, but there are. And there's rules of society too in a meeting, like, cross talking and stepping on people while they're talking and talking directly to people like I am now. uh, there are rules there that are good, and they need to be there, and they should be followed. But I every day of my life I run into rules. I stop at stop signs. I stop at red lights. Those are all good rules. I'm not defiant towards those. But there's other things that I still find myself defiantly opposing. Amends would be one of them. Direct amends, for example. And the biggest issue that I had in recent times was when the COVID protocols hit and people wanted us to wear masks and stay 6 feet away from each other and don't drive on the road and don't go to church and don't go to a meeting and don't go to see your grandmother dying in the hospital and don't go to the funeral and don't go to school and all those rules and regulations. Well, that was like, I might as well be living in Nazi Germany or 1984 or something like that. I mean, that was incredible. But I was lucky enough to be contacted by a woman who, up until that time, was like a zero to me. Like she didn't speak, she didn't smile, she didn't socialize, she didn't chat. She didn't pass the time of day. She didn't say hello. She didn't say goodbye. She was blank. There was red flags coming out of her head every time I looked at her that this was a deeply mentally ill, isolated loner by the name of Gretchen. We all know her. I love her now. And she reached out with her oppositional defiance disorder and created a safe space for a group of us to have meetings every day in her little barn up in West Milford, where we didn't have to follow the COVID protocols, and I think it kept a lot of us alive. So there is something to be said, I believe, about having an oppositional defiance disorder and questioning the rules. I'm not a lemming. I'm not going to follow the sheep. I'm not going to, jump off a cliff. There's that old saying they say that mothers always tell you, oh, well, your friends are doing it, so if they were jumping off a bridge, I guess you would too, right? So I still question rules and regulations that people tell me. I didn't get my vaccinations of the experimental vaccine. And so I think that there's a place in our lives where we need to follow rules and regulations. And there's a place in our lives where we should always keep open our warning signs, so that we don't, you know, walk into a train and wind up in Auschwitz someplace, um, because the world is the world, and it's not nice. It's a dog eat dog world. We have to be careful. Follow the rules and regulations that you find are right, and question the rules and regulations that you think are not right. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Steve. Good stuff. Donna.